Is there something you guys would love to have in 3D? Would you love to have a company be able to print something out custom 3D? Then there's a great website for that. It's called 3dinspires.com, 3dinspires.com. You can check them out. There's a link in the description of this show as well. And what they do is specialize in custom 3D prints. They're submitted by you using STLs, which is a specific file type that you would submit to them, and they can make custom cosplay items, D&D pieces, and they have a store with pre-made items to choose from. There's everything from keychains to ornaments to soap trays, or again, you can have them do a 3D print of a model of your choosing. Head on over to 3dinspires.com. You can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at 3dinspires.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the very first Monday Night Raw review show of 2023. It is Tuesday, January 3rd. I hope all of you are doing well, had a happy and healthy new year. And as I mentioned in the last show, it is time to kick it into high gear with WrestleMania season. But, I have to say, if you watch Monday Night Raw, you wouldn't really get that sense. Anthony DeMarco and I spoke last night about the lack of importance that Raw has been having over the last several months now, and SmackDown feels like the must-watch show where Raw feels often skippable with some notable things going on, but overall a show that feels like you can just watch the highlights and feel like you've watched the whole show. And you know what? If it wasn't for the Bloodline, who are really SmackDown residents, if it wasn't for the Bloodline, where would Raw be? It's kind of scary right now where Monday Night Raw is, and I didn't really think about it until the discussion yesterday, and maybe some of you are really enjoying Raw, and you know what? More power to you. I'm not saying Raw is an awful show. It's not. It just, compared to SmackDown, which has so much star power, nearly every storyline feels important. It's an hour less of a show, so less to digest. When you put it side by side with Raw, it feels like two different shows. And again, this is, I want to emphasize, this is not me crapping all over Monday Night Raw, because there are some bright spots, no doubt about it. Even in taking away the Bloodline, okay, you take away the entire Bloodline story, and it still has bright spots. So we're going to cover that. Of course, we'll cover some of the kind of ho-hum stuff, the bizarre stuff, the really good stuff, and the stuff that is in between, as we do every single Monday Night Raw review. And we're going to get to that in a minute. If you haven't joined us before, thank you so much. You can go ad-free 3 different ways. My website, WWEpodcast.com, going VIP. Patreon.com/WWE Podcast, which is maybe the best way, really the most popular way that a lot of you have found us and decided to go ad-free, is patreon.com/WWE Podcast. And we actually have a new patron that I'd like to welcome on to the show. And his name is Josh A. I won't give away the last name, but Josh A. Thank you so much for joining us here on the WWE Podcast. I hope you enjoy your ad-free content. And since you're on the SmackDown tier, you get video as well. Also, I'll be doing another video very shortly that you'll be able to enjoy at the SmackDown tier. And the last place you can go is Apple Podcasts and go ad-free for $1 a month over at Apple Podcasts, or $10 for the entire year, which is 2 months for free. So, all right, guys, let's dive into this. All right. And let's talk about the good. All right. Let's start with the good. It's like open with a bit of a downer kind of feel to Raw. I did say there were some good things. And I think one of the really good things, Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship that took place. And while the outcome may have been extremely predictable. That's okay, because this was nothing more than a vehicle to continue the storyline of Alexa Bliss individually. Not with her with the championship yet, although I do miss seeing Alexa Bliss with the championship. It's been so long. I honestly don't even know the last time she held a women's championship. I'd have to look. It's been several years. And so it's long overdue, and maybe it's sometime in 2023 things can be rectified. But this was not about her potentially beating Bianca Belair for the championship. Like, let's be real, it's not. That's okay. Because the most interesting part of this for everyone watching was, what's going to be that next step for Alexa Bliss with Bray Wyatt? You know, what is that next chapter? What is the next page that we're going to turn and see? And we got our answer. It was Alexa Bliss being distracted by quote unquote fans, which are really plants, but they're fans in the crowd wearing Uncle Howdy masks. She was distracted by them. But what really set her off towards the end of the match, which, by the way, was a really hard fought match by Alexa Bliss. There were some, a few kind of sloppy spots, but you know what? She busted her ass in that match. She busted her face up a little bit, which I actually think helped her in a kind of wrestling God shining down kind of way, where it made her look more badass, and the transition to this darker character once again is more convincing. So that was kind of a blessing from the wrestling gods, if you will, of that kind of, almost not quite, nearly, but the Becky Lynch moment when Nia Jax busted her face before she was supposed to go one-on-one with Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series a number of years ago. That actually never took place, but that iconic vision or picture of Becky Lynch with a busted nose will live on forever. So sometimes those happy accidents happen. Another example is Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 when Brock Lesnar got busted open the hard way. Now, there was some of talk, of course, that it wasn't an accident. Brock bladed himself, but whatever. My point is, as I'm going off on a tangent, that this visual for Alexa with a little bit of blood, helped her. And what really set her off, beyond really just kicking, just really busting ass in this match, she did a great job in this match. Probably her best match since she came out of the whole fog of the Bray Wyatt story a couple of years ago, and just basically did nothing for the last several months. This was her best match in a long time, most relevant match in a long time. But what set her off, what her character was set off by, was the couple of flashes of the Bray Wyatt symbol, the upside down moth, whatever it is. And then there were two flashes of it, and she reacted very dramatically to both of them, as if she was just being somehow brainwashed, or she's being re-traumatized or something like that. And she snapped, attacks the referee, attacks Bianca Belair viciously, and then DDTs her not once but twice on the steel steps. And Bianca Belair had some blood coming from her mouth. I would imagine that was a blood capsule of sorts, because I don't think Alexa Bliss was bleeding enough to make it perfectly look like blood was coming out of her mouth. But regardless, it was still a nice visual. Whenever there's a little bit of blood, it's really just, it's so much more effective these days because you don't see it that often. So I really enjoyed seeing the viciousness of Alexa Bliss, and then the really complete lack of remorse she showed after the match, when we had Byron Saxton interview her and ask her, what's going on? What was this about? And, it looks like you lost control. And she basically said, no, this is me in control, right? Very effective, and no remorse. She seems to be kind of slipping slowly, but escalating the fall into madness, into whatever this new version of her character that's associated with Bray Wyatt that's going to ultimately be. I don't know what it is. I would hope it's not her back on a playground sitting there twiddling her thumbs and spinning nursery rhymes for 6 months but not competing. Hopefully whatever this dark character is, that it's a version that actually wrestles. Okay? That was the big misstep the last time, was she just became a cartoon character that, while she was invested in All In and did a nice job with, left a lot to be desired, given the fact that she was barely wrestling ever. And that really hurt her, I think. So this, to me, I'm interested in it. I'm in it, and Alexa Bliss has not been more relevant in quite some time. And I think that right now, that's the most interesting thing going on right now in the women's division, certainly in the Raw, is the Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss storyline. So honestly, I don't anticipate Bianca Belair to lose the belt until WrestleMania, or maybe even beyond. I mean, I could see Bianca Belair carrying the belt through WrestleMania and maybe losing it at Backlash or something like that. I mean, who knows? Because Bianca Belair has done a really nice job this run around with her championship run. There have been some slow spots, some questionable spots, some concerning spots of her getting a very quiet reaction, sitting at ringside half the time for matches, but never being on commentary, that kind of weird stuff. But overall, I think this championship run has been much better than her first. So there's that. There's also reports, by the way, of Sasha Banks being completely done with WWE. Now, I saw this actually on TikTok, so I don't know how credible of a news source TikTok is. I'm Googling it right now. So this actually does hold some water. So Sasha Banks actually thanked WWE. This is what she put on Twitter. She said, "Thank you, WWE Universe. Thank you, #crew. I love you so much." And she said, "Thank you." But basically, saying goodbye. I mean, that's essentially what she has done, is said goodbye to WWE. And while this does point to a goodbye for fans from Sasha, from Mercedes, there always is that glimmer of hope that it's still a work, that she's completely trying to get us off the trail. That she's saying thank you, but saying thank you doesn't always mean thanks and goodbye. It could just mean, hey, I'm really just thankful for you guys. However, Wrestle Kingdom 17 is, coming up very soon. And with Wrestle Kingdom 17, she could be appearing there, and she's decided not to come back to WWE. I mean, that's very, 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 very possible. So it's probably much more likely than her doing this elaborate get people off the trail and have a big surprise return at the Rumble or something. If you want to hang on to hope, I see why you want to and why you could, for a possible return for Sasha at the Rumble, where the argument is, as I just laid out, she's trying to really get us off the trail. She never said she's done with WWE. She just thanked us. And we're all inferring from that she's also saying goodbye. So hang on. If you want to be, again, an optimist, that's the road you take. If you want to be a realist, you go, yeah, this is done. Unfortunately, she's done with WWE for a while. And, I don't think this is a goodbye forever, even if she is right now deciding to do work with other promotions or step away from the wrestling business forever, or not forever, but for a long period of time. In general, I think that this is not the last time we see WWE's Sasha Banks. Okay. I'd imagine that maybe if this is goodbye for a while, in a year or 2 years, we could be talking about a potential return for a short run, or she could be going into the Hall of Fame. She certainly is deserving of the Hall of Fame. So everybody comes back. Everyone comes back. Okay. Hell, Ultimate Warrior, who talked so much crap about Vince McMahon and the company as a whole, came back. Bruno Sammartino, who despised the way that WWE was running things in the 90s and early 2000s and into the mid 2000s, it came back to WWE, and Vince welcomed him back. Hulk Hogan, all the drama there, brought him back. All right. It always seems to mend itself. And no matter what the issues are, just at least know, if you're a Sasha Banks fan, she will be back at some point. It just doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. Okay. What else happened on Monday Night Raw? Solo Sikoa took on Elias in a Music City street fight. Now, what's the difference between this and a Miracle on 34th Street fight, or a this actually felt more to me like a Symphony of Destruction match, one of those things, because they used all musical instruments to attack each other, and some of them were brutal. Okay, like they put their bodies through hell. Both Elias and Solo Sikoa put their bodies through hell. And hats off to both men on this one. And it ended with Solo Sikoa hitting a spinning solo, i.e. a rock bottom, from the ring apron onto a piano. So Elias took a hell of a bump. And that ended it with a victory for Solo Sikoa, who continues to be undefeated on the main roster. We also had the musician Hardy hit Solo Sikoa with a guitar, but it had no effect. Who's Hardy? I'm lost. I know that they were in Nashville, so perhaps the Nashville crowd knew him a little bit better. Is he country music? I mean, I actually know a decent amount of country singers and musicians. Who the hell is Hardy? They're all like Hardy. I'm like, is Matt Hardy here? Is Jeff here? Like, what? I'm like, what do you mean Hardy? You can't say the word Hardy on a WWE television program and expect me not to think about Matt or Jeff Hardy. I'm like, what are you talking about, Hardy? What is he dressed up like? So when they said Hardy, I'm like, who's this dude? So I completely may be out of the loop. But when they said the musician Hardy, I'm like, what? All right. Anyway, so the match itself, again, hard hitting. They threw each other through, everything under the sun. Ended with a Elias loss, as it should have. I mean, Solo Sikoa is on a roll. There's no need to really to take away his streak right now with Elias. I mean, I'm just sorry, But I was sad I didn't get to hear an Elias song. He did his typical, "Hello, I am Elias," and then he goes somehow into that. Well, everybody knows WWE stands for walk with, right? I mean, that's the only two things he says. He pretends to go into something he's prepared, and then someone interrupts him. I'm kind of tired of that formula. Okay, like at least if you want to get him over a little bit more, I think it would really help him if you were able just let him actually play his song instead of getting interrupted before he even gets started, because fans know it's coming. It's annoying. I mean, it's. I know that the heel is supposed to piss you off, but it's the heat's starting to fall on Elias's character. So if you're trying to get him over as babyface, I think fans would actually be really entertained by his music, because he's put out some, I think, decent, funny at times songs for the crowd. And it doesn't have to be long. It could be just like, a minute or two, and that's it. Maybe just even like 30, 60 seconds, you can go up with something funny. So I think it's really doing a disservice. But all right, let's move on. The Bloodline invaded Raw. At least they said that they were stating it's a hostile takeover. And at the beginning of Raw, they opened the show, and they took out the ringside area. Kevin Owens made his way out, and then Zayn told Owens it was a hostile takeover and that people were going to get hurt. And then we had Adam Pearce come out and say the Bloodline is not the authority in the building, and that the group would have to leave the building before sending the standard hapless security guards to the ring. And they did. I mean, it was just the local talent, right? It's the local wrestlers who just got their asses kicked. It's always fun to see security get their ass kicked. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Whenever I see security get their ass kicked, no matter who's doing it, even if it's a heel group doing it, it's still funny to watch. I don't know why, because they're just so helpless. These people are hired for the very job that they can't do, and they just get their asses handed to them. It's so much fun to watch. But that's what happened. And then Kevin Owens stormed the ring. He got 4-on-1, and that led to a lot of the locker room coming out to overtake the Bloodline, and they ran off into the crowd. But then Pierce said, no, you guys wanted to come to work. He's going to have all of them in a match tonight. And I was thinking, wow, 4 separate matches. That'll fill 3 hours. But no, it was really 2 separate matches with Solo Sikoa versus Elias in a street fight, and then a 3-on-3 tag team match later in the night. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But the segment was fine. Again, where would Raw be without the Bloodline? Tell me. Where? It's kind of a scary thought, honestly, because Monday Night Raw, as I mentioned at the open of the show, it's hurting in a number of areas. Star power, the 3 hours always hurts big time. The fact that a lot of the storylines are not particularly emotionally investable, if that's a thing. It's just kind of there. Again, I'm not crapping on the whole Monday Night Raw product. Again, it had some shining star spots, no doubt. But overall, it just kind of feels like it's there. But all right, we're going to take a break for the sponsor of today's episode. And then we are going to talk about the 3-on-3 tag team match that saw Sami Zayn and the Usos take on Kevin Owens and the Street Profits. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Is there something you guys would love to have in 3D? Would you love to have a company be able to print something out custom 3D? Then there's a great website for that. It's called 3dinspires.com, 3dinspires.com. You can check them out. There's a link in the description of this show as well. And what they do is specialize in custom 3D prints. They're submitted by you using STLs, which is a specific file type that you would submit to them. And they can make custom cosplay items, D&D pieces, and they have a store with pre-made items to choose from. There's everything from keychains to ornaments to soap trays, or again, you can have them do a 3D print of a model of your choosing. Head on over to 3dinspires.com. You can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at 3dinspires.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's talk about that 6-man tag team match. As I mentioned before the break, the Bloodline versus the Street Profits and Kevin Owens. So Sami Zayn hit Montez Ford with a hell of a kick, and then after the match, the Bloodline dragged Owens into the ring before attacking him as a group. So this match, it was interesting from the perspective of something that didn't even have to do with the match itself for me, because you all know that the Bloodline is probably going to win this match, but it was just really about furthering Kevin Owens and the Bloodline. Like, the Street Profits are there to just fill like warm bodies to even out the odds instead of it being a 3-on-1 situation. But the most interesting part of this to me that I really appreciate the detail of is Montez Ford. And why I appreciate it is, of course, he's a hell of an athlete. I really believe a future WWE champion. It may not be 2023, maybe 2024, but Montez Ford, when he becomes a breakout star and they actually decide to give him a real opportunity beyond this tag team, is going to be a star. No doubt about it. But the point I was making here is when Alexa Bliss hurt Bianca Belair, Montez Ford's real life spouse, Montez Ford was on the ring apron just kind of sulking, and the announcers made a point to talk about how she or he was distracted and his mind is elsewhere, and given what happened to Bianca Belair. I really appreciate that. I mean, that's something I didn't even think of. I wouldn't have thought twice about it. If I saw Montez Ford out there hopping around doing his little shtick and all that, I would have been like, oh, okay, it's just Street Profits. I would have forgotten about the connection there, because they're not an on-air, at least not consistently at all, an on-air pair, even though we all know that they are a real life couple. So I really appreciated that little bit of a nuance there. That it's like, hey, yeah, your wife was just attacked. She, her head was spiked into the steel twice by Alexa Bliss. She was bleeding, and Montez Ford's like, oh yeah. I mean, it seems like something, duh, of course, but how many people would have noticed it? Be honest with yourself. If Montez Ford came out and he was just his normal self, would anybody have batted an eye? Be real. Be honest. I wouldn't have. I probably would have been like, oh yeah. So anyway, nice little thing there. I appreciated that. And he eventually got into the match, but the Bloodline dragged Owens into the ring, attacked him as a group. Solo Sikoa grabbed a chair, but Sheamus and Drew ran in. They attacked Sikoa and Zayn before taking out the Usos. So Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, they picked up a win over the group a couple of weeks ago on Raw, and Owens teaming with John Cena, he beat Zayn and Roman Reigns. So right now, Kevin Owens seems to be on a bit of a roll and has a case to be made to have a championship match against Roman Reigns at Rumble. Now, there has still been nothing. There have been no segments yet speaking to said match, because right now it's not official. But I can't imagine the Royal Rumble coming and going with no championship match. I mean, to a lot of people, it's their most favorite and fun pay-per-view of the year. How can they not have a championship match with Roman and Kevin Owens? I mean, there's nobody else right now. Nobody. Yeah, The Rock may be coming along soon, so I mean, we can talk about that if and when it happens, but right now it's Kevin Owens. And if they don't get to Kevin Owens and Roman at the Rumble, like, what are they doing? You know? They have to, because it also will further Sami Zayn and Roman. Or rather, yeah, Sami Zayn and Roman friction between those two, which started on Friday night with Sami Zayn taking the loss, where Roman, is going to be seething about that, or at least pretending to play cool about it, but really he's embarrassed that he lost and he has to take a loss on his record because of Sami Zayn. I mean, that's eventually going to come around to bite Sami when all things fall apart and he gets beaten to a pulp by Roman. That's coming, and that'll be just the start of it. So to me, though, the furthering of the story between Kevin and Sami could also continue at the Rumble as well, where Kevin Owens it looks like he's about to win, and Sami Zayn still hesitates to take out Owens, or it just looks like there's still some kind of friendship there, and you're wondering, they could advance that story very, very much at the Royal Rumble in just, a few weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. Nothing's official yet. I would imagine, though, that match should be announced this coming week on SmackDown. There's got to be something. They're now getting to the point where they are laser focused on the Rumble, and you would imagine that they have to get to that championship match. They have to announce it. So all right. What else? Speaking of, let's see. I'm trying to get to good stuff. Good stuff. Here's another good thing. The United States Championship match. This I really enjoyed, and how can you not? I mean, it's two guys that have similar styles. Both are equally athletic and have really good chemistry. Austin Theory is coming into his own. He continues to grow by the week. His promos are always just so well done and so just poignant and easy to listen to. He doesn't stutter. He feels confident. It's nice. This is a nice pairing, and this matchup had me believing for a little while too. This match had me believing that Austin Theory could lose the belt when we were getting to the final minutes, and the referee goes down, but Rollins hits a pedigree, and then here comes another referee, and you're thinking, oh, okay, and the crowd was hot for this. I mean, they believed, and I had a moment too. So in a match that you felt going in probably that Seth Rollins had no chance of winning, they made you believe. And then Austin Theory ends up hitting A-Town down, gets the victory. So again, how can this not be a good match? It's guaranteed to be. So I understand why they made this the main event of the show. And they continue to, if you notice and listen, the announcers continue to push this as the top prize on Raw. That's really striking to me. Not because that's what they've been telling us that they're doing. They have been hiding it, and I don't blame them. They should be. And I appreciate their fact that they've pushed the U.S. title really almost as far as it can go. But the fact that we're accepting this, not to disrespect the U.S. title, but the overarching picture here, the larger message is this. We unified the belts at WrestleMania. That implied that Roman would be spending more time on television for Raw and SmackDown. But really, it was to have Roman be on TV less. And when he does show up, he's really on SmackDown. He's barely on Raw. So it's kind of sad how far that we've come to just be okay with the fact that WWE has admitted by saying it's a top belt on Raw, that Roman is not really going to come around Raw very often, if at all. I mean, you don't hear that about the IC title, and yet Roman Reigns as a double champion can float between any brand he wants. But we all know SmackDown's his true home. So you don't hear that about the IC belt. We all have just kind of gotten used to the fact that he's really only on SmackDown. So, guys, this is the boiling frog theory, where if you put a frog in a pot of water, if it's boiling and you throw him in, he'll jump right out. But if you put the frog in water that's kind of like lukewarm and you slowly turn up the heat, it'll eventually get to a point where the frog doesn't even know the water is boiling and he's dead. Now, that's a pretty grotesque analogy, I understand, but if you understand what I'm trying to say is they kind of slowly wore us down and made us realize that, hey, yeah, Roman ain't coming around Raw very often, and you're going to have to get used to it, and we're going to take the U.S. belt, and we're going to make that the top belt on Raw, even though he is a champion of both brands and never comes around Raw. So, again, WWE is so lucky that they have Sami Zayn. So lucky that they tripped into this brilliance of Sami Zayn. I don't want to hear it was by design. Nonsense. Nobody foresaw this level of success for Sami Zayn in this story. So anybody that tells you different is lying to you. That said, I appreciate what they've done with the U.S. title. And once a top belt comes to Raw, the U.S. belt will have to take a second fiddle to the top belt, as it should. But it won't feel like the off the cliff drop that it has felt in the past, where, okay, there's the top belt. That's really the only belt that matters, the WWE Championship, and the U.S. title is just kind of like this other consolation prize for whoever is doing a nice little job on Raw. No, like the U.S. title, even after the top belt comes back to Raw, which it should and hopefully does by or shortly after WrestleMania, at that point, they have now a belt that has built a lot of equity in it in the U.S. title. So I appreciate that. And I hope it continues even after a top belt comes to Raw. Now, the other thing we saw on Raw, speaking of championships, is Cody Rhodes. And, they are really trying to remind you about him. It's kind of surprising, really, because they're tipping their hand. And maybe they're just throwing their hands up going, well, WWE, the fans have known that he's going to be in the Rumble since he got injured. And he's probably going to win the Rumble. They knew that for the last 7 months. So why are we trying to hide it? So they're doing a kind of a promotion before he comes back type of video package for him and just reminding you who he is, what his mission is. And they've really reiterated that mission a lot since, really in the last couple of weeks. On the Raw last week, that was a review show. And it's been very obvious that they're going to have Cody Rhodes focus in on the belt, on Roman's belt, on the WWE Championship. That is the one that he says he's coming after. Now, if Cody wins the Rumble, very predictable. I think we all kind of know where that's going to go. But the question is, how do they split the belts? We don't know. Does Cody say, I want the WWE Championship? I know it was unified, but that's the belt that my father never won, and I want to win for him. Maybe they go that road. It doesn't look like they're going to go with Seth and Cody, even though that's how he left. And I think that is, for now, at least anyway, the better way to go, because Seth is doing a nice job being a babyface. You don't want to flip him back heel so soon. Right now you'd be shooting yourself in the foot if you're WWE. You've got a nice babyface, top babyface on Raw. WWE needs top babyfaces in general. So I think you got to kind of skip over, for now anyway, the Cody Seth program and get to that after Mania. And they will. They'll get to what? I think it's part 4 after WrestleMania. And it'll be a nice program to kind of finish things up there. I mean, maybe Seth goes back heel, or they just face each other babyface. Who knows? But you also notice in the video packages, you didn't see Seth attack Cody, which is exactly what he did, to put him on the shelf and all that kind of thing. And after he already tore his pec and Seth attacked him after the loss at Hell in a Cell, they skipped over that, which tells you they are not going to that program right now. So, but anyway, back to Cody Rhodes. They're doing a very transparent kind of move here of telling you Cody's on his way back very soon. Again, not a fan of his babyface program or his babyface character. He's a good talent. I think he's over, kind of, what's the word? Overplayed, overhyped. I don't understand truly the just monster reaction for Cody Rhodes. It's a cool moment. I get it. I don't know. I think Cody Rhodes as a heel is to me a much better fit for his character. But because I guess we're all supposed to feel sympathetic and, oh, it's for my daddy Dusty Rhodes, and Oh, what a just a heartfelt program this is. I can totally relate. No, I'm sorry. Like, I don't buy it. It's, to me, you're really just standing on the grave of your father trying to gain sympathy from the crowd. And I'm tired of, at this point in his career, how long has Cody Rhodes been in professional wrestling? How long? And he's still leaning on his daddy? Come on. I know Cody Rhodes is past, or Dusty Rhodes is past. I get that. But you're still leaning on daddy, where you have somebody like Charlotte Flair who's doing everything she can to distance herself from her dad and create her own path, where Cody is just constantly relying on the Dusty references and the Dusty packages and the videos, all this stuff. Like, I don't know. I just see through it. I see through it, and I find him pretentious. How about that for the word of the day? I don't know. I just do. Again, hell of a hand. He's a top guy. Yeah, I agree with all that. But is he the top guy? We're going to find out. And I think eventually the crowd will turn on him, just as they did in AEW. Just because the AEW fans are AEW fans doesn't mean they're not pro wrestling fans. Pro wrestling fans, no matter what brand, what company, all react the same when they see BS, and they start to see through characters, and they start to feel like they're being taken for a ride. They rebel. And I think they're going to eventually do that to Cody. It's deserved too. So that's why I feel he's Mr. Suit, Mr. Use big words to make him feel intelligent, and that he's well-read and well-spoken and well-cultured and all that nonsense. It's just so too clean for me. It's too much. So anyway, I know I'm in the massive minority here. That's cool. I know that when he comes back and it's going to be a big reaction and all that, and great, good for him. But I'll be sitting there waiting, twiddling my thumbs, whistling, waiting for the crowd to start to turn. And it's going to take many months, but I do think it will happen. I truly do. Because fans will eventually see through the act. And he'll just, as he was in AEW, he was like, I don't understand why fans don't like me. I don't get it. The fans turned on me. He has no self-awareness of the psychology behind why fans started to turn on him in AEW. And it's for the exact reasons I'm telling you now. So, all right, before I go in circles, let's continue. Dexter Lumis defeated Chad Gable. It was I'm reading the description here, is a reverse cradle pinning combination. I wanted to make sure I got the move right. I saw it. It was quick. It was kind of like, all right, well, honestly, any match Chad Gable or Otis are in, or both of them are in, they are guaranteed to lose right now. And Dexter Lumis beat Chad Gable. So there's that. So it's crazy the way they're treating Chad Gable right now. Damage Control took out Becky Lynch and Michin. This happened when Io Sky hit Michin with a moonsault. Michin then joined Lynch midway through the match. She was distracted, attacking Bayley during the finish. That allowed Michin to get the victory. So this kind of ho-hum, I mean, I have to say, the ho-hum program between Bayley and Becky continues. It's not particularly inspiring. And that's kind of weird to say, given the star power here with Becky and Bayley. It's kind of weird, but they don't feel very inspiring right now. This part wasn't even on Hulu. You imagine that? Becky and Bayley were not on Hulu. That's how they view this program right now. It is as boring of a program, and I hate to say that, as these two have ever had. So I think once they get past this, both of them are kind of ready. For whatever reason, there's just no magic with this one. There's just, to me, I don't feel the chemistry this time. It's just, I'm like ready for them to just get to the Rumble, do whatever they got to do, and move on. Be competitors in the Rumble. Becky and Bayley will probably be one of the final four, and we can move on. I'm ready. I'm ready for Becky to actually get into a program that she can feel electric in. And right now, it's just kind of, it's Bayley. All right. This feels weird. I don't know why I don't feel invested. So there's that. All right. What else happened here? Was that it? Did I get everything? I don't know if I did. I think I did, actually. So, guys, overall, the Raw was okay. I brought up some really bright spots, Alexa Bliss being one of them, Bianca Belair being one of them, the effort on really Elias and Solo Sikoa's part of beating their bodies into the ground in that street fight. That's admirable. And, the Bloodline is always fun to see, but kind of shows you that Raw, without the Bloodline, I don't know what they are. But also, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, how could I forget them? They ended up saving Kevin Owens from certain death. They ended up taking out the Bloodline to retreat. So Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, a fun little tag team there. I like their chemistry. They feel like they have true chemistry. They were really there to hype up their tag team title match that they are going to have with the Usos on SmackDown this Friday. So Raw is being used as a promotional tool for SmackDown. Continue to pile up the problems for Raw here, as Raw is being used as a promotional vehicle for the show that actually feels like it matters and has consequences, SmackDown. Raw's got problems right now, guys. There's no doubt about it. And it's not that they can't turn it around. And really, some of the proposals I came up with Anthony last night was, hey, I think a few trades would help. Bringing back a top championship would help. Certainly. And that's a start. And then, maybe just making the storylines more organic, whatever that means, making them feel somehow investable. And they just feel kind of ho-hum as a whole here. But anyway, I think things will change hopefully towards WrestleMania season as we get deeper and deeper into WrestleMania season. I think it will be. I'm going to be optimistic about that. So, all right. Well, that pretty much does it for us tonight here, guys, on the WWE Podcast and the Raw Review. Thank you so much for listening. Again, consider going ad-free at Patreon or on WWEpodcast.com or Apple. All of them are ad-free available if you don't want to deal with the ads and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a great way to go ad-free and support the show at the same time. And hope everybody's enjoying their long week. If you're back at work, then I feel you, right? It's kind of like the real back-to-work week. It's kind of just like, oh boy. But at least we get Martin Luther King. That's coming up in just 10 days or so. So there's that, but all right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow with the mailbag. Continue to send in your questions to us at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. You can also call us. The phone number is in the description notes of all of our mailbags. So go check that out. And thank you so much for listening, guys. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time. Is there something you guys would love to have in 3D? Would you love to have a company be able to print something out custom 3D? Then there's a great website for that. It's called 3dinspires.com, 3dinspires.com. You can check them out. There's a link in the description of this show as well. And what they do is specialize in custom 3D prints. They're submitted by you using STLs, which is a specific file type that you would submit to them, and they can make custom cosplay items, D&D pieces, and they have a store with pre-made items to choose from. There's everything from keychains to ornaments to soap trays, or again, you can have them do a 3D print of a model of your choosing. Head on over to 3dinspires.com. You can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at 3dinspires.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.